Are you affected by an injury that has impacted your quality of life? Do you need some legal help to give you the best future health possible? Well, don't worry. Today we're catching up with a legal personal injury expert who will help you find the best attorney for your individual needs.
In the news recently, there's been a lot of attention paid to how a lot of drivers in Tennessee are uninsured. And there's been a lot of talk about legislative things that can be done in passing statutes and fines and penalties and there's all sorts of things to try to stop uninsured drivers. Uninsured drivers are not good. There should not be anyone riding on the road without insurance. The problem with those statutes and regulations and penalties, aside from more government oversight and more government involvement in drivers and on the roads, is that they don't work. There are always going to be uninsured drivers. And no matter what rules, laws, penalties, anything else we assess, for whatever reason, there are going to be people out on the road that don't have insurance. And so the calls what I get that are the most frustrating to me where I can't help people or where there's no insurance, either because they don't have insurance or they don't have enough. So if you're driving, not only should you have liability coverage as you're required to by law, you've got to have uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. A lot of insurance companies out there don't sell that. A lot of insurance companies out there will represent to people that they're offering full coverage, when really their definition of full coverage is just what is the minimum required by law. Full coverage should include a good, healthy, strong, uninsured, underinsured motorist policy. If you don't have that, you're not insured, because so many uninsured drivers are out there. The minimal policy limits for a liability policy is only $25,000. That's what most people in the state of Tennessee have. If you're involved in a wreck and you suffer from serious injury, $25,000 is nothing. That's just a drop in the bucket with most people for serious injuries in car wrecks or in pedestrian wrecks or whatever else. And so really, if you're driving with just a minimal limits liability coverage, you don't have any coverage either. You need to get something that has higher limits to it. I know it's more expensive, but it is worth it because there's always going to be uninsured drivers. People ask, well, why should I have to pay more for insurance because of uninsured drivers? They should be paying more and they shouldn't be on the road and all that stuff. And I understand that. That doesn't solve the problem though, because you're still going to have uninsured drivers. You get the people that are uninsured because they just don't have insurance, and they never had it. They let their policy lapse. But there are other things that come up. If you get hit by a hit and run driver, you don't ever know who it was that injured you. Well, your uninsured, underinsured motorist policy will provide coverage for you. If you get hit by someone with, like I was talking about, the minimal limits of $25,000, well, if you have more in underinsured insurance, you'll have coverage there so that you'll be able to get more than just that minimum $25,000, which is just a ridiculously small amount of money. If people get hit all the time for, all sorts of situations where, for whatever reason, insurance can't apply or doesn't apply. Insurance adjusters are there for one reason and one reason only, to figure out a way how the insurance company can avoid paying on a claim. And that's what they do. If they can get out of coverage because the insured person is not cooperating with the investigation, if the insured person is driving for an employer and they're outside of the scope of their employment, well, we're not going to provide coverage for that because we only apply coverage for people that are working for an employer when they're actually on the job, not when they're off going to run a personal errand, or I had a case where they were drinking at a bar. They didn't provide coverage there. Was there insurance on the vehicle? Sure. But they were going to cover it because that employee wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing. There are all sorts of scenarios where even though there may be insurance on a vehicle that's at fault for a wreck, suddenly that insurance disappears. So again, Yet another reason why it's so important to have uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage on your insurance. So if you're a driver and you have insurance, look at your policy and make sure that you have that coverage available to you. Make sure the limits are as high as what you can afford to pay, because it's far more likely in Tennessee that you're going to be injured by an uninsured driver or an underinsured driver than any other type of driver out there. If you have any more questions, you can contact me by visiting my website at www.901lawyers.com or call me, 901 Lawyers.
Pretty impressive, isn't it? And a great lawyer is always eager to help, one client at a time. Would you like to learn more? Just contact our featured expert at the number on your screen. Thanks for joining us.